All right, welcome. Let me turn that up a little bit more. But hello. Hello. So yeah, we did some slight adjustments to the stream. Added a kind of out of focus webcam. Since I have the two webcams, I might as well use both of them, right? So tonight the plan is to finish our Undead painting. I'm kind of fine with the old village farmer version. So now we're going to dig in and finish the kind of gothic-y, Paul Dayton inspired Undead, Grim Reaper-esque character. And for this one, I want to use Corel Painter. I think we used it a little bit in part one of this set. And I don't know, I feel like I just need to give it more practice to get better at it. Plus, tomorrow I'm going to start a traditional painting as well. An oil painting, not on stream, but something, off stream. I will be recording it for YouTube. So, I don't know. I just want to... I feel like I got to figure out Corel Painter. I have to, dig in and see what's going on. Just the way the brushes work, it's just a different beast. I have so many painting programs, and Corel Painter is always the one, that and Procreate. Procreate, I'm coming to terms with. I can get it now. I understand it. I know how the brushes work. I get the appeal. But Corel Painter is just a tough nut to crack, as it were. But we're gonna come in here. We're gonna make some nice kind of abstract designs. We're gonna really make it look. I'm gonna use a lot of John Singer Sargent brushes, make it really look painterly. As far as the brush strokes, and then afterwards, if we want to add more canvas or whatever, we can do that. But yeah, I don't know. I think there's something here. We're just gonna play around. I don't know. But here's what we got going right now. Yeah, I mean, it's something, There's something to it, but I really feel like I need to just practice my Corel Painter. So that's what we're gonna do. I will say kind of the nice thing about Corel Painter is it keeps different favorites based on where you put your favorites list, under what brush library. So my West favorites for Painter 2022 is different from my favorites for 2021. I actually prefer my 2021 favorites because I'm more used to them. But we're gonna start with the 2022 favorites and kind of hope for the best. Because this has more Sargent blenders and things like that. So we're gonna figure it out. I did compress down the image into a single PNG file. And we're just gonna use this. We're gonna duplicate this layer. We're gonna print, or we're gonna paint on top of that. And yeah, kind of see how that goes. I'm gonna get rid of all these sketchy lines. And I do have some nice so that one's separate, but I have some Paul Dayton paintings right here. And kind of how he does a lot of the big abstract brush paint, especially this one. This is kind of our main one we're gonna be referencing. And then, some cool, Stormcast Eternal. Just, I like how he breaks up shapes. So we're going to look at that. But, I was watching Ryan Pancoast tutorials. I've bought every single one he's ever made. He's an amazing painter for, Magic the Gathering and stuff like that. And the one that has the best mood, or the mood that I prefer to study for this painting, is going to be his Mox. I can't remember what this was. Mox something. But, yeah, this is all in oils. So, a great way to get a traditional look on a painting is to paint it traditionally. Who would have thought, But yeah, some of these really cool blends and stuff like that. So, I just have these up kind of as inspiration. But like I said, mainly this is the one that we're going to be looking at a lot, right? But instead of getting the colors, I'm just going to convert this over to grayscale. That way I can just see how the brushwork looks. Let's do always on top. There we go. There we go. So got that. I'm going to duplicate the canvas. Got it. Let's get to it. So I'll be glancing over at chat every now and again. And also, I was thinking, and if you're watching, I don't know, like after the fact, or, you know, if you're watching on the YouTube archive or what have you, let me know. I'm having the idea of doing a multi-stream, of streaming like on Twitch and Facebook Live and YouTube at the same time. I mean, if we're doing the stream, we might as well do it. You know what I mean? So, but it just, the thing is, it costs a little bit of money to do that. And I don't know if that's really, I don't know. I don't know if it's worth it. But if you'd be interested in like watching on YouTube Live or whatever, then let me know, because, you know, I can definitely do that. The first thing I want to do, I kind of want to darken the mood on this a little bit. So I'm going to get more saturated colors and darken them up, and then really kind of get in there and start pushing paint around, as it were. Let me move this over. What am I on? I'm on Color Dabber, Paint and Blend. Let's just do the Sargent brush for right now. So yeah, it's weird. The Sargent brush does like, it almost pulls the image. It doesn't work the way you would normally think of it, but it makes for some cool looks, and it can like actually blend pretty well. See, it has like a pretty good tail, as it were. But like I said, it's just it's a matter of like wrestling with it and trying to figure it out. Try blocky oil. So really here I'm just applying random brush strokes, and then we're going to zoom out and kind of see what we can make with it. So I literally have nothing on my mind right now. I have no clue what we're going to like push this to be or make it look more like or anything like that. Like I have no idea. See, I feel like the whole piece is just a little too bright right now. I just need to come in and darken everything. And then I can kind of push the highlights a little more. Because it looks really, in my opinion, it looks really flat. Looks like too wet, oily blender. Maybe using this wet oily blender we can get a nice kind of a patchy, really wet, almost like watercolor blend. To where things look like they just kind of meld into each other, you know? So whenever I'm doing this, I'm following the lines that I've made for shapes and forms and things. So it's almost like I'm tracing over my art with a blender brush, because that way it looks a little more convincing that it's been blended like this from the start. Which, as we know, it has not, but it does help give that illusion a little bit more. Alright, so and this really like smears it out, but we can basically take this as a new underpainting of sorts. See, especially if you look at the Paul Dayton original, see how a lot of these strokes are like, well, it's funny, like these are just repeated strokes. This is how I can tell this is digital. Kind of here, and then maybe like photo bashed and paint overed a little bit. With the arches and the staircases and stuff, and like statues right here. Yes, I wonder if, let me, new layer, let me fill this layer with, where's the paint there? I was like, where's that paint bucket? That, boom. And we're going to change this over to colorize. Then we can kind of compare and contrast. Well, let me move his over here. Oh. Mine right there. So see how much darker, especially like around here. So like this should be the type of dark that's around here. And then this is maybe the brightest the background needs to get, is like this darker. Yeah, so maybe I can like flip it, because if you notice the background, his piece is the darkest part, while the subject is the lightest. And we kind of have some of that going on, but not to this extent. Like, the values of here, even the lightest value of the background is like darker than the mid-tone of the foreground. Is that true? Roughly. It's roughly true. It's true enough that it makes sense from a design standpoint. So let's do that. I mean, I kind of like the wispy look, and like maybe this is looking over castle type thing or whatever, but I don't know. I don't know. Let's, you know what we could do? We could just paint in grayscale for a little. We can flatten this down, completely remove any color in the situation, and just figure out the value. Just really focus on the lighting, on the render. Then we can come over top and do like a color wash, maybe even a gradient map. You can take it into Photoshop, use one of my new gradient maps that I'm going to come out with. That might just be a easier. I think the painting will look better. Right? We might lose a little bit of the nice interplay of color, but if the painting's not good enough anyway, who cares? Like, who cares about what interplay of color happens? It's funny, I had some commenters say that I was like very hard on myself. Y'all don't know the half of it. It's just how it is, man. But yeah, I just think the painting needs to be more interesting. It needs to be more dynamic. It needs to be more eye-catching up front. Because I think right now it's just not. It's getting there, but it's not like this, even in black and white, is like a stunner. Like, you look at it and you're like, God. It's genius, man. Let's go ahead and let's would it just be okay, cool. So cool. So now we're here. Now we can just paint in black and white. Cool. Okay. Got it. So, yeah, we need to come in and darken up around here for sure. So let's get... I'm actually going to load up my 2021 brushes. They work faster. And then I'm going to come down here, and there's not very many to choose from. So really, I can just have the oily dry pastel. It can come in and it can crush some stuff, man, for sure. It can just come in here. Yeah, that. Look at that. Has that nice canvas texture on it already. So we don't even got to worry about that. So that's a thing. Whenever push comes to shove, you can always worry about your values again. And your pieces will always be better for it. Because if you're, you know, there's an old saying in art school that value does the work and color gets the credit. That is absolutely true. Around here, think of that, and then, oh yeah, see, that's cool because then this darker part, the arms can sort of come through a little better. And then if we just cover that, really this is just simplifying the shadows and the other shapes too. So let's bring that down. So yeah, we may just be doing a full kind of rearrange of what we're doing. But the nice thing about this is this builds confidence in... It's kind of like what we did last time. You just kill your darlings and then you hope that it ends up in a better spot than what it was before. Let's see, I need to... Let's do this. Okay. Come back in and kind of render this lighter. Oh, that's cool. Kind of taking that tail off of the hat. kind of gives us a different vibe. Almost like a The Mummy Returns type thing. That's cool. Alright, so... Yeah, the Sergeant brush is nice because you can like sketch, but it still keeps a kind of a painterly tail to it, which is pretty good. Yeah, see, we can just kind of abstract this out a little more. That way, if we have a cool look, whenever we go into like a Photoshop and start refining this with tighter brushes, it'll still have a little bit of that chaotic painting look, which is cool. Because yeah, that's the thing. I don't know where Corel Painter fits in my workflow. I think that was the same thing with Procreate. I don't know quite where it fits. So that makes it tricky, because it's like, well, do I use it as like a concepting tool? Do I use it as a refinement program? Like, what do I use it as? Because, you know, for painterly stuff, I use Rebel or ArtRage. And then if I want it slightly more refined, but still kind of chaotic, I'll use a Krita or Clip Studio or whatever. And then for all the real serious tweaking, then we go into Photoshop. You know, like, that seems to be the way of the world. see, layer. There should be a remove. Like a remove, okay, yeah, here we go. Is it clear impasto? Yeah, there we go. I was like, there should be a button. So yeah, that way it kind of smooths it back out. I don't get kind of caught up in the, that rendery, glossy, makeshift look. Let me see something real quick. Let's do apply surface texture. No, let's do paper. This might be the thing that Corel Painter is great for, that I can use in my workflow, is like, ooh, there's standard artist canvas. That's dope. That's dope. Bring that shine down on a little bit. Light it from, oh, don't need that light. Oh. All right, there we go. That's cool. See, I can get behind that. That is great. Brightness, okay. Yeah, that's just subtle enough to give some texture. But then, like, whenever we start painting over it, it should look pretty good. Like if I come over here and do this. Kind of removes that texture a little bit. That's cool. Dry flat knife. Here is hide. What is it? Canvas? Hide impasto? Clear impasto. Okay. Yeah, maybe just coming in and sketch them with a smaller brush like this is what we should have been doing. Because I wouldn't even consider these details. It's just like a mess. That way we can look and like whenever we zoom out, we can kind of see that it's getting a little bit more nuanced. And then we can start rendering forms from that, if that makes sense. Mm. I think really this is just about getting rid of these really dark kind of like line areas, because it's just not gelling with the more painterly look I want to get. So yeah, I think it's just really about getting rid of a lot of the line art-esque shapes and just remaking those shapes with a wet brush is starting to get a little bit more like happy accidents. So like, instead of like that black line right there, we made that line, but then we kind of painted over it with see, kind of like that, kind of like smear out. And maybe we just get sharper around here. But yeah, I have no idea what this background is going to be. Haven't the faintest idea. Maybe it could be like a marsh. Like, I want to extend some of these out, like tree branches, you know? Kind of a spooky woods. So this is why, if you ever wonder why, like, pro artists sketch and then really like fine-tune their designs, it's so you don't run into this, where you just ping-pong around having no rhyme or reason on anything. It's like, it's even at the point now to where even if I had something cool, I don't know if that's what it is. You know, I don't know if that's what the piece is going to end up being or not. So I think what I'm going to do is kind of relight everything using, because I like the shape of the side of the face of the kind of the ghoul. So I'm going to use that as my main lighting prompt, to where the light is still coming from like that direction. So I'm gonna go painterly stroke this up so where like these tree limbs are catching some of that light. You know what I mean? And like, so now they feel like they are, see, that's a little too much though. So they are in the same place as our spooky boy. And then these are away from the light, so like they're further back, so they're not going to catch as much light. That big. That would fall into shadow. Probably just need to get a reference for the hood of some sort, because it's like, I think that's part of it. It's just not feeling like the type of hood that I want to see. Not really in a pose that I want to see. Like, that's what makes this really, really tricky. Is none of it's working because there's no goal. Like, I just want a spooky character. But like, other than that, like, I don't know. Like, I know we talked about kind of the villager narrative, and that's cool, but that still doesn't give us enough. So what I probably need to do is look up a little more of like yeah, see, like this is pretty well rendered, but there's still enough openness to like you can fill it in with your imagination. Alright, so we're at this point now. Let's go in, let's file, save. Then I'm going to open up Photoshop, and we are going to apply a color pass, like a gradient map, and then kind of see what we're working with after that. Oh yeah, and I can already tell I need to adjust the values a little more. This is fairly flat, but to be fair, so is this one. You can tell that the values are kind of closer matched now, but let's see. Flat pass. Color. Hit fill. Black. That way we're gonna know we're locked in to the grayscale. Here. Alright, so I think what I'm gonna do is I'm gonna start really rendering the face, make it look pretty crazy. I think I'm gonna kind of render this part of the arm, the hand, and then I'm gonna do a gradient because I'm thinking I just want the arm to look good, I want the face to look good, I want the hood to look good, and the rest of it, who cares? Like, I do actually feel better about these values. I think this feels more like a, you know, feels a little more cohesive than the stuff before. I was also thinking, I know this is a no-no, but pretty much using this hand as a guide and redoing this arm. Because, like, as of right now, the arm doesn't look like much of anything. Like, I think it makes sense to be kind of that softer. See how this is kind of one hue, or one tone, rather. I like the fact that this arm is the same thing. But it may just be one of those things that, like, the whole piece looks better once that arm is fixed. You know, I don't know. I feel like we did this last time too. Funny, because now this looks more like a hoodie than it does a cloak of any sort, but that might be okay. Then, like, if I just darken this up, right? And then we just sort of need to make that quite a bit smaller, though, because the hand's going away from... I mean, I guess this does at a certain point just come down to the correct values in the right place to give us the look we want, you know? So I'm just gonna use some like pure black, come and outline this, maybe draw some detail on this face with a small little paintbrush. Yeah, I think because having these darker darks, like this type of stuff, you see? And see how like loose this is? It's just an implied necklace instead of a super highly rendered. Because that's my thing, is I need to get more confidence in like keeping stuff really painterly. Because I feel like, oh, if I want to design stuff for Warhammer or a Magic card or D&D or whatever, that it needs to be like at a really nice finish. And I think in my mind, even though I've been a pro for almost 4 years now, I still think finish and refined or rendered is the same thing, but it's not. And that's part of the learning curve of this. Like, they're not exactly the same. They can be. And for a lot of people with painting and art and stuff, yeah, they go until it's done. But like my thing is, I always want to stop a little before it's done. That way it keeps the viewer kind of wanting more. But that's a very tricky balancing act. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to mute me, and then I'm going to crank the audio a little bit. But, you know, if chat starts picking up and stuff, then we'll unmute. So I will go ahead and hide my camera. That way you kind of get a full view of everything going on. And then, yeah, we'll just kind of render away. And maybe before I put in the gradient maps, I'm going to come back on camera. But we'll see. So, see you in a minute. Alright, so let's do some gradient maps. Kind of see what we're working with. Because I'm starting to get to that point where I'm going to start over-rendering again. And I don't want to do that. So, let's go to gradient map. Let's go to color. And then, look at the I'm thinking like a kind of an off-kilter one. Something like this would be cool. Because this can really start looking like that. Because if I bring this in and see how that's all like gunky. It's like really bright. That, but it's also like gunky reds and browns and stuff. This type of thing, the really high saturation or like something like this, you know, just gross looking. So, I mean, we could start with something like this, you know. And these are like the more subdued versions of this. But this is like a real kind of grody looking one, which is cool. Called the Mucky Muck. We do this. And then key, let's keep it saturated right here. Up. Color. We have that. Round. Then if we did this. And then you can even do a Yeah, sure, I can make like a yellow light. So that's looking better, I think. Like, it's interesting, at least. I wonder if I can up the vibrance. And then edit, fill, black. And we're going to grab white, the soft round brush. And then in our areas of interest, we're going to make sure that we pop that vibrance quite a bit. So we're going to like there we go. That way we can see it a little bit better. Let's do the same thing with our brightness contrast. Let's turn this brightness way down. And then we do like there we go. So it's like vignetting a little bit, right? And with that, save. We're almost live for 2 hours now. Let's do... do that, then we can save this as a copy. Save it. The same way we did before as the PNG file. Let's open up Painter. Let's close. Then let's open recent. There's the new one. Now that gives us a little bit more wiggle room. Okay. So now we can come in here and actually start painting. Okay. Now that we have our colors in, we can go for it. So maybe I can render a little better, like let's do the Sergeant brush just to see if this will start giving us what we're looking for. Yeah, so kind of what I'm doing here, now I'm kind of picking the color of the light, you know, how these lights are a little bit more vibrant and green and stuff. And I'm going to come in and start introducing some of those colors in here, like this, with kind of the thicker paintbrush. And see if that starts getting us a little bit closer to the look we want. Let me shift the shape of this. Let me like flatten this out a little. Yeah, see, that's starting to get a little bit more of the rendering style that I like, because it's a little bit more, it has a little bit more of a finish to it, but it's still very loose. Like, so I think that's a good approach, is to kind of refine until you get something you're fairly pleased with. And then maybe that's where Painter comes in, is maybe once we get all the colors sorted and overlaid and all that stuff, maybe this is where this like comes into play. And I think it does help that we don't have lines anymore, because lines can really take out any sort of interest in shapes, because you lose the form of it, you know. Yeah, now we're getting somewhere. You get those nice browns and grays and greens, and just kind of color pick. And yeah, this is already looking way more like interesting, in my opinion. It's getting closer. It's getting closer. It's like, I just think this is more interesting to look at than it was before. If that makes sense. Alright, so I think we're at a pretty decent stopping point for the stream. I'm probably going to refine this one and kind of render out the arm and the skull a little more off stream and then publish it up. But this was a decent 3-part series, I think. The overall kind of goal, you know, I want to make something for the portfolio. I don't know if this is quite up to the portfolio standard, but it's kind of fun to have a piece that you don't really know what's going to happen with it. And I think that's what this is. And what these primarily can do as well is build confidence. So if you're in a rut and creatively you're like, you know what, this is not working at all, do drastic changes. Change up your process, change up the programs, change up the medium, whatever, however you're working. Just change it up completely and see what you get. Because I actually feel better about what we have now than what we did. They're drastically different. But overall, I think it has a cool vibe. It has that painterly vibe. It has a different color kind of story than we've really ever used before, because it's weird greens and browns and maroon and red and like a nasty look. It's different, but it's something, you always learn something, you know. But that's my time. Yeah, let's look at it one more time. It's looking a little better, I think. it's just more interesting to look at, like, as a painting. And if I go in and I kind of figure out the shape on the shape for the skull and the shape for the robe, and I think I went a little overboard on the arm. I need to go in and kind of refine that and reshape it the way it was, because I do like the shape it was, but yeah, and like render the hand a little bit. I don't know. We could maybe pull this out, And then if I wanted to render a bit of the trees, I would probably do it in the highlights, because a great rule of thumb is if something's in the light, since it's visible, you can get away with having it more highly rendered. However, if something's in the shadow and it's keyed for the light, so like your exposure settings, I know that's a photography thing, but if you're making a piece and you want the details in the highlights, make sure that the highlights are fairly well rendered. However, if you want all your kind of cool, interesting design choices in shadows, you can get away with your lights just being a really bright brushstroke, and then you're done, because people are going to be looking at the shadows, if that makes sense. So with this one, since our focal point is going to be light, it's going to be that skull, it's going to be the arm, it's going to probably be a little bit of the hand, and then this part of the scythe, and then as it gets further away from the viewer, kind of like how the hand does, if you notice, like this hand is going to be rendered, but this one I might keep like this, honestly, because you can kind of tell what that is. Like the colors match enough that it looks like the hand and it should be there and all that. So really I can get away with all of the highlighted stuff. So this tree part, the arm, this part of this, and a hand, and then this part of the robe as being more rendered, and then kind of fade that rendering into the painterly stuff. I think we're going to have a pretty exciting looking painting, which is what the overall goal was. But yeah, that's my time. Thank you so much for hanging out. Appreciate you very much. So we have a Rebel 6 video up right now. It just went up. It's gangbusters. It's doing really well comparatively to the other stuff. So it's like my #1 video right now. Go check it out if you haven't. We paint a night to prepare for our oil painting, which I will be recording and then putting the YouTube video on that out probably in the next week and a half. I also have a new arcade cabinet set up, which is cool. I'm making a big video on that. It's probably going to be like 45 minutes long. A lot of B-roll footage, me putting it together, and you'll see the kiddos too, so that's fun. They're playing on the arcade. So anyway, that's my time. Thanks for hanging out. We'll go live again sometime this upcoming week, depending on, I'm expecting 2 prompts to come in from a few jobs I've taken. So we'll see how that works, but just, keep it locked on the social media and you'll see when we go live, But thanks for hanging out. Appreciate you very much. We will see you next time. Peace.